You know, sometimes I just feel like that might be a little too long. Good toy evening to you, sir. How are you doing? You sexy co-host, you.
Doing all right, brother. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing well, man. Hey, today's gonna be crazy, huh? Tonight's it's a crazy show. Let's not forget it is preview night at San Diego Comic-Con, and you and I aren't there, so it doesn't really matter.
It's probably a good thing this year, actually. It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, it's probably hot there, Well, look, hey, today it's a good show. We're talking about, if you can't read the titles, you didn't know what we said it was, I'll go ahead and inform you now. But in order to do that, you got to subscribe, like, follow, turn on notifications, all that crazy goodness. But tonight's going to be fantastic. We're talking customizing Joe's and Joe Force collections with a very special guest who we'll get into. Okay, you don't get to know that before this other part. And then we're going to talk a little bit about preview night, and then I'm throwing in a little side project here. We might talk about Deadpool, but hey, all that and more. So stay tuned, subscribe, like, follow, share, and check this out. You know, everyone likes that part of the show.
Exactly. But, we also got to run down right before. It's like, if you missed that, hit the replay, because this is the last week with that opening. The guys behind the scenes have been working. We got a brand new Toybox Chronicle opening for year 2 that is going to be ready next week. And we got a guest that we can't even get into for next week. But we
don't want to talk about it till at the end of the show, because you might leave and come back for that one.
Exactly.
Let's get him up on the panel. Let's chat. There's only one other person as sexy as us that could ever be involved in Toybox Chronicles on a Wednesday. And for those of you that come by a lot, Chaos Collectibles is always hanging out in our chat and reminding us how much we don't know about action figures at times. So without further ado, let's get this sexy beast up here. Oh, there you go. Richard, what is happening, my friend?
How's it going, guys? How you guys doing today?
Hey, doing well, all right. Man. Doing all right. Happy to be talking about the one subject that beyond the point of how you start a collection is how the hell do I start customizing my Joes, my action? And I tell them all the time, it's like, Joe, Action Force, Marvel Legends, whatever. Look, we're novice in this. We just really got into toy photography. I've got a couple of guys that have been definitely trying to learn how to do a little bit of the other things and customizations. But when you have the master, you go to the master.
Yeah.
So that's why we brought you in tonight, because there's a lot of things that we need to know, but I know that a lot of people out there already know, and the chat's already blown up and everything. It says, "Don't you do it" is popping in tonight. What is going on, brother? How are you doing?
I do want to start off, Richard, by making you very jealous of my customized Joe. Okay, look at it.
Nice.
This is the Chet Maddox.
That is nice. I like that.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm pretty jealous of that shirt.
Yeah, it's my
stylish.
It's my Chet Maddox custom figure. It's so easy. It's a Thor head with some medical tape to hold it on, because the GI.JOE pegs are smaller.
A lot of times that's all it is. There's a lot of part swapping, and action figures are pretty easy to customize, honestly.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think there's a lot to be talked about. A lot to hopefully, we get a lot of questions popping up in the chat. If not, I have them. We're good. We're golden. So, Mr. Storm, I'll let you run it.
All right. Well, like I said, one of the main things is whether you're Joe or your Action Force or whatever, there's obviously certain things in your collection that you want to feel that you can improve just as a collector. Now, I notice again some of the work that you've done, and you've done some variant teams and everything else like that. So first of all, let's run down the easy point. How much does it take to get into customizing? What's like the base that you think you would need, the supplies and the amount, man?
So starting off, and I tell this to a lot of people, like I do teach classes with Joel, Joel from Fictional Studios. Okay. And then I have also done some on my podcast and on my YouTube where I walk people through. Actually, I did a class where I walked people through step by step as I completely customized this Warhammer figure. Wow. And this figure.
You know what? Let me see if we can throw that just into the. Let's throw that so everyone else. Let's see. Let's go. Oh no, that's just me. Let's see.
There you go.
Well, there you go. There you go. Got it.
So this figure. The crazy thing is that figure and this figure.
Oh wow.
Are the exact same one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that was a little bit more tricky because I part swapped arms and heads and stuff like that. But you can do it with something like the first Duke. What really got me recently doing customizations again and really got me onto the Joe side is when when Classified first came out, I hated the paint schemes. Absolutely hated it. I hated that weird glowy thing that they had going on. Like just and I'm a huge fan of the original team.
Yes.
Duke, Scarlet, all that, like all the original run. So when I got them and I opened them up and I'm like, just looking at them, it bothered me. So all I did was I hated the paint scheme and I hated the weapons. So the only thing I did with my initial team, which is Scarlet and Duke, was I took Duke and I repainted him into actual more modern colors that you would get in the military. So this is a figure like this Duke right here. Literally, all I did was it was painted. So besides the amount that I paid for the figure, it could probably cost me about $1.50 to customize it.
Oh, well, wow, that's extremely reasonable.
Yeah, and a lot of times, I mean, there are high-end paints that a lot of people tend to use, which are like there's Vallejo and Citadel, which if people are into like miniatures and models, a lot of people tend to use those. Or there's also a company called Army Builder that's it's very similar to Citadel. They're more expensive and they're meant for the plastics and for there you go. They're meant for plastics and it does work. But I use, Apple Barrel or, the stuff you get for 99 cents at Walmart. As long as you seal it, because you're going to water it down when you're painting anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not going to go, it's not one coat. It's not house paint. So I will do usually like 2 layers or 3 layers as a base and then I'll seal it. And then I'll do another one. And I usually once I get my base done, I do 2 more layers after that. But I'll paint it, seal it, paint it, seal it. That way, if it's scratched, you have the same color underneath it, and it tends to stand up a little more.
That makes sense.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the quality of your paint as long as you make sure you seal it right.
What do you seal it with? What's your go-to?
There's a Vallejo that's I use a matte Vallejo brush on. But you can use things. It depends. Like if you're using, like you can even use Mod Podge. But sometimes I've noticed certain plastics it will dry shiny or tacky. So you have to worry about what paint you're doing. And the reason I use the Vallejo, it is a little bit more pricey, but you don't end up with that tackiness. As I do it, I'll use the brush on, and then when I finish it, I use a spray on.
Oh, okay. All right.
And Army Builder it's a spray on. It's actually called an anti-shine. So you're taking away any of that gloss that may be there.
Oh, that's cool.
Now,
you're starting. I mean, a lot of times when I do my classes and stuff like that, we're using any kind of acrylic paint. I've even used acrylic paint that's meant for canvases, because you're watering it down so much.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter as long as you seal it properly. You know, and then I use, you know, I go to 99-cent store and buy one of those big things of variety brushes. Now, at some point, you're gonna when you get more advanced and you're doing things like eyes and you're getting into more of the details, you're gonna want to have probably like 5 or 6 really good brushes. But that's something you can do in time.
Yeah.
You know, I use a toothpick to do eyes sometimes. So it's really coming down to like how much you want to, and it's something that's, if it's not something that you're into and you just want to make one figure, there's no point in investing all kinds of money in it. You know, just to do 1 or 2 figures. If it's something you're going to sit there and want to do for a length of time, then invest in some higher quality paints and some higher quality brushes and stuff like that. But that's something you can work towards, like any artist does. You know, everybody starts off with crayons and crappy you know, pencils and markers, and it's working your way up. So you can start off with the cheapest stuff. It's just having patience and not thinking that it's going to coat something in one coat.
Well, let me ask you something now. When you're, like, we're talking still cost, in your opinion, like I said, it doesn't make sense for people to like purchase some of the high end like characters or like action figures, or should you start off with something like maybe like with like Ross or something else? Because chances are, first time you paint and everything, you're gonna make a bunch of mistakes. So you know, you think a $6.99 or a $5.99 figure is best to start off with?
Your best bet is to start off and I used to just buy, like, when I had the physical store, we had a dollar bin, and like literally people would come in. It was mostly for kids, you know. They can come in with their own money, and I would give the kids, you know, free toys. But the parents would come in, and I had customizers. You know, I would sit there and talk customizations, and they would buy, you know, wrestling figures and use them for parts. I have bins just full of parts. Sometimes you can kit bash together an entire figure with just random parts. It's good to start with the cheaper ones because, you know, go to Ross, go to discount stores, find loose figures. You know, don't worry about the accessories. You can always find accessories. You know, you can find them like, you know, what is it? Bellaverse does like the accessories, like weapons and stuff like that. Yeah, you can buy the big box full of them, and they're way better than anything Hasbro puts out. So, they're better quality. They're made of better plastic. So, but like you can. But that's something you get in time. You can make your figure and have it ready. And then when you want to invest and you have like 2 or 3 figures that you need accessories for, then you can buy them in bulk and you're not spending, you know, it makes more sense than buying one piece and it's going to cost you $10. Now, don't get me wrong. I have figures that I have paid, you know, I paid $60 or $70 for a figure just because I needed a specific head. But that was because it was an order. A customer wanted that specific head or body, you know, something like that. But all in all, I mean, when you're first getting started, use the cheapest things possible. A lot of things, you know, a lot of what I practice painting on are cheap pops. Pops are becoming really, really cheap now. A lot of people, you can just get them and just mess around with them.
All right. So like I said, so now we getting started. Let's say, you know, you've made it through a little bit of beginning stuff. You're starting to feel your kind of thing where like, hey, I think I got this. When it comes to the whole, what's going on, Meeks? What's going on? When it comes to Action Force or GI Joe Classified, which one have you found that is easier to take the paint application and kind of like redo them into your own line? And which one do you think needs the less customization? Like you would probably leave that line alone mostly. So
the GI Joe line takes the paint a little bit better. I think because they're so mass produced and such a big company. They're made with so the biggest problem when you repaint a action figure is you always have to, like I tell people, like try to first of all take it apart, but you want to soak it in alcohol for 24 hours because when they put it through the molds, when they build it through the molds, there is an oil they use to release it from the molds, and that stays on the figures. That's that high gloss look that your figures have. That's an oil that they use to release. Not only does it seal the figures, but there's an oil residue that's left over for them releasing it from the molds. And when you first paint on it, it's like water beating off a brand new polished car, you know?
Got it.
So if you soak it in alcohol, it tends to break that away. Okay. I don't always, like, I tell people use a high grit sandpaper too, especially on the joints, but I don't like, if it's bent like that one I just showed you that's in the box, if it's meant for displaying, there's no point in sanding it because it's not going to be moved.
Yeah, got it.
So,
got it.
I mean, it all breaks down to specifically what you're doing. But like I said, Hasbro, because they're produced so much, you don't get as much of that residue on their toys because so many are coming out. And it's just less residue on it. With the Valverse, the reason they're awesome is because they're so customizable. The bodies they have bodies that Hasbro doesn't, you know. And you can create your own. Their line, even though they only have so many, other than, you know, they have generic, you know, like the Swarm and stuff like that. Those figures. Yeah, exactly. But the main characters, the individual characters, they come out with like the body, but then they'll put out little packages of different heads, so you can swap those out. So they're made like whereas they're gearing towards the customization. So, but my problem with the Valverse when they first came out is they had bell bottom.
Yeah. Now,
military action figures with bell bottoms bothers me.
Raz has questions here. Show where I can learn how to put a Doom head on a Destro body. I think if you watch Richard's show over at KS Customs or Collectibles, you can see him actually do a lot of that stuff right there.
Yeah. It's. I mean,
what's going on, sir?
Doom head. That's it is possible. So there's a slight scale difference.
In the pegs,
there's a peg difference. There's also just in general the scale difference because Marvel Legends are smaller than like Hasbro figures, and so the bodies tend to be a little bit smaller. So if you get, depending on the size of the Doom head, you can probably find one that will work. It's workable, but it may come off looking like it's got a big head.
So you're saying that it's the swappability, like, you know, it's like if you're going to do customs, it's better not to like use a mixture of Action Force and Classified and other ones because it's kind of harder to make those scale wise into different bodies.
So like I could put this on a GI Joe body, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not that it's not that big.
I mean it is possible. It is, but sometimes like because some figures aren't made just to be, because some figures are bigger and made to be like, you know, a Superman figure. If you get a Superman figure and you get that head, even on another, like say it's something from McFarlane line, you put Superman's head on a smaller build. Say they came out with a Jimmy Olsen. You put Superman's head on Jimmy Olsen, it's gonna be a difference. You know what I'm saying? So you just want to find something where the body and the head kind of coincide. Sometimes it's going to look a little bigger though. It happens. They're not. It's not universal, but you know you can work your way around it a lot of times.
Okay. Well, let me ask you on this. Since you've seen it, you've been like, you know, we were at Robo Toy Fest and a bunch of other shows and everything. In your opinion, because we've seen some great figures, especially customizable ones and everything. What's going on, Darth Moocher? Yes, he's getting prepared for a show tonight and everything. Awesome. What was the best custom that you've ever seen? One that you even thought to yourself, because sometimes as you know, as me being a writer, I'll go and I'll sit in a film sometimes and I'll be like, damn, I wish I actually wrote that film because it was so well. What have you seen in a customizer or a custom figure and you thought to yourself, wow, man, I wish I would have done that. That's really good.
There is a guy on Instagram who goes by the name of Aero Customs.
Okay.
And I believe he's on TikTok and on YouTube, and I believe it's it's Angel Arrow Productions or something like that.
Okay.
His customs are top notch. His everything from the skin tones to like he's done the complete line of like he's done most of them from Predator. He's done out most of the team. Like this guy does some amazing stuff.
Okay.
Is this the right guy?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just take a look at some of those figures.
Wow. That Thanos is taking it to the next level.
Get the letter out.
Wow.
Gotta let my dog out real quick.
Yeah.
That guy does like,
wow. Yeah, he is doing some awesome work, man.
He is amazing, and he has a YouTube, and he does some tutorials, and I've learned some stuff watching his stuff. Like he does. That guy is amazing.
Wow. I'm seeing it. Well, that Danny Trejo is almost like
Danny
top notch.
so
like,
good.
wow, like that,
That's
like
so
that Danny
good.
Trejo is like right on point, man. You know.
Yeah, and I believe he sells them too. So
well, I would hope he would.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure he's got an eBay store. So and he does take custom orders and all that. He's one of my favorites. There's a lot of
makes it
wrestling customizers out there that are just amazing too. It's just, there's really too many to name. I follow so many different wrestling customizers because that's mainly what I do is the GI Joe classifieds and the wrestlers.
Now I was about to say that too. Don't knock yourself too short on that because I've seen some of the old school wrestlers that you've done, and some of those figures are off the chain, man. So I know that's your passion and everything, but also bringing it up to the point is what kind of got you started in the customization? Was it something that had a group of people around you, or was it just something that you just had a calling for, man?
So oddly enough, back when I was a kid, you figure I'm 50 now. So when I was a kid, and Star Wars action figures first came out, there was only so many that were out then. You weren't getting all these, it wasn't until Jedi and after that you started getting other figures. So about that time started a trend of what was referred to as the boil and pop era. So you would take your action figures, throw them in the hot water, and you could pop the pieces off and swap the arms, swap the head, swap the legs. Because of the little pegs, they would get soft, and you can. So I used to do that when I was younger, mostly because we were stupid kids. A lot of us would chew the hands or strap M80s to them. Whatever happened to them?
Yeah. A lot of bad stuff happened to those figures in the 80s. I can tell you that.
Oh, absolutely. So because of that, we would kit bash figures together because you had a bunch of random parts.
Obviously.
And then I did that, and then I really got into making my own figures, my own characters, like making up my own squads and stuff like that with the old O-ring GI Joes.
Okay.
Once those O-rings started popping, and we learned that we could just, back then we used to take rubber bands and wrap them, for the tension, and then tie it or use string sometimes or even glue it. And that's how we would fix them. But then I would take them and use model paints to repaint them. So I would take, different random pieces that I had because I don't know, a firecracker would fit right in the hole of a GI Joe.
It did.
So we would have all these random parts and end up, making brand new figures to blow up.
Yeah.
So,
that's exactly what we would do. Just blow them up.
and it was honestly just to be able to recycle them and play with them again and blow them up again. That's. I mean, we did stuff crazy that is considered active terrorism now.
Oh yeah.
But,
we blew up a lot of our like retirement funds with those characters now because we had I destroyed so many of the O-ring Joes that I would basically be able to buy a house with the crap now. So yeah, we tended to do that stuff a lot then.
And then when I got towards the junior high age, I started doing it all over again with a buddy of mine because of the LJN, the big rubber dolls,
yes.
the big rubber wrestling. Well, I was never a big WWF. I mean, I liked WWF. I was an NWA guy. I loved Ric Flair, loved the Road Warriors. Like, even though I'm from California, I grew up going to the old Olympic. My grandmother took me to wrestling when I was a kid.
Yes,
so some of those guys, like when I would see, like, you wouldn't get a Dusty Rhodes or the Road Warriors or stuff like that because the only toys that were coming out were the WWF ones. Yep. So we learned how to basically take them, use X-Acto knives, cut away the rubber. We would use Scotch tape to change the boots so they weren't lace boots. They looked like cowboy boots. And, use acrylic paint to paint them and make our own wrestlers. We did that for years, especially when they stopped making them. So you would go to KB Toys and they were on clearance, and you would get those things for like $1.50. Now, granted, if I had all those things now on card, they're $200-$300 a piece.
Well, Shadow's still got a warehouse damn near full of this stuff from KB, the clearance section. I was at his place one time, and he was pulling out like Cops and Crooks and all these other characters. So I go to KB and I buy it all at clearance.
Cops and Crooks is one of the things that a lot of people are always looking for, and because it wasn't so popular, like it was on clearance, but everybody loved it because a lot of us grew up broke, so you got the toys are on clearance, and you didn't care, so you broke them. But now when you have money, you're like, you know what? One of my favorite toys was stuff I got on clearance.
Exactly.
So like that brings that demand up for stuff. That's why the most oddball toys out there are what's expensive.
True,
and then
true.
So after that, I really kind of got out of the customizing. I mean, I still collected toys, but I really wasn't, because I was a mint on card. I was a box collector, so I really wasn't opening anything up until the Kiss figures came out. When the McFarlane Kiss figures came out, when the first ones came out, I decided that I wanted to make a Crow figure. So I used one of the Kiss figures body, and I used the head. I used the head off of a Kiss figure, and I used the body off of, I don't even remember. But I made my own Crow figure, and then I made an Ash figure from Evil Dead. And I started doing it all over again for a short time, and then just as McFarlane started putting other things out, the stuff that I wanted was getting released, so I had no reason to make customs. And then just kind of again, it started with wanting to make wrestlers from the '80s. Now, I wanted people that I grew up with, and or figures that weren't being. WWE has a bad habit of making the same figures for the same wrestlers over and over again.
Yeah, different variations and everything.
Right.
Yes, now it's just now that they started to really go through some of that back lore of some of those characters and stuff, because they pretty much almost own everything now, so they can go through that repertoire they want to. Let's talk about, now that we've gotten to the level of, hey, you've gotten into customization, your stuff is looking good, you're posting that stuff on Instagram and everything, and I know yourself, when they see something on Instagram, somebody DMs you, hey, how much is that figure and everything? What's the resale market value of customization? What are you seeing change in the beginning, and what are you seeing now? Because I am starting to see a lot of customizers with like legitimately their own line of figures that are just like, whether it's the Predators that we saw or some other stuff. So what's that reseller market looking like for customs?
So I'm trying to find a lot of, so it depends on it. Like if it's like this figure, if it comes boxed and like that, that's something that I swapped out the arms. I did that there. This was probably about 3 weeks worth of work. And I tell people something that I actually tell Joel. You have to not only think about the amount that you pay for the parts, because the parts were cheap. The extra arm and head were extra parts I had. the figure I had because I did the class. But this figure right here, I would sell for about $60. I'd say about $60, which
that's Super 7 reasonable.
$60 is my minimum. That's what I start most of my repaints. Because you're paying for your time. You know.
Sure.
Now, it's very rare that you add some details, or just add stickers or decals to a figure. If I do something like that, $20 or $30 isn't that big of a deal. If it's something that took me a couple of hours, or maybe even one day, I'll do something super cheap like that. Or if somebody wants, they have a wrestler, but they're like, but I liked him in this specific attire, and all I am doing is slapping like black paint on his trunks and a decal. That's like $30.
It's like, what if you had somebody that was like, hey, I have this Silver Surfer figure, but I want him to look like Norrin Rad. Like, what would that be?
I mean, it all depends on parts and time. Like, if I judge it by like I said, I usually start my minimum at $60.
Okay.
And then if it is easier than I thought it would be, I'll charge them less. I've had an agreement with a guy, and I was like, look, it's probably gonna be about $60 for me to put I have extra parts, so I'm not paying for but for my time, for the parts and everything, I'm like, I'll do it for $60. And it was even quicker than I thought, just because I had the extra time, and I was just filling it that day, and I flew through it in probably like 2 days, and I was like, you know what, $40. I had a customer who wanted the killer bees. Like, he had paid a guy online to do the heads for him, and he's like, can you make the bodies for me? I was like, okay, well, it's just repainting the trunks. That's all I got to do. Find the bodies and repaint the trunks. I was like, you know what? I'll do it for $20 each.
Oh, okay.
And something like that. But then I've done figures that I've charged over $200 for, because I've had to completely sculpt them, build everything. I went through. I have my head sculptor that I usually go through. There's a lot more now. It used to be harder to find the sculptors, finding the heads. Now you can find them on Etsy, you can find them on eBay. But before, there was only a few out there. And the guy I deal with is in the Ukraine. He does amazing work. His name's Tom Vig. You could add VEG. You can find him on Instagram. He actually has a website. Mostly what he does is celebrities and wrestlers' heads. But there's so many people out there now that do head sculpts and kits and stuff like that, that it's become a lot cheaper. So my prices have kind of gone down, but it all, like, once again, it depends on the amount of work I put into it. When I did Biggie Smalls, the first Biggie Smalls I sold them for $250.
Yeah,
because
and it was worth that price, brother. It was worth that price.
Yeah, I had to completely, because I made him out of a Big Boss Man figure, so I had to completely sand off, all the form on the Boss Man, mold the sweater, that old iconic Biggie sweater.
Yes, sir.
Back then nobody had the Biggie heads, so I had to get the head from the Ukraine, which, I mean, the price of the head isn't that bad. It's like $15, but the shipping is like $30.
Yep.
And it's worse now for obvious reasons.
Yeah, obvious reasons.
But so it all depends. Like, if the parts are cheap, you're gonna get it cheaper. If I fly through it, it's cheaper. If I have a lot of fun doing it and I just kind of wanted to do it, like you're hitting me writing something I want to do, you're getting it cheaper. So
okay,
that's awesome.
So now, with that said, one, have you had in your mind your own line, just of original characters that you would make, that you would kind of think that you would put together? And also, I know we've talked offline about this, but I know you're also starting to get into the packaging and actually making the boxes and everything. So is there like something that we'll see, like a KC Kollectibles original or something? Or
with the originals, I'm not really well, I mean, I've done sculpting, but my sculpting tends to be alterations. I'll find somebody's head that works. Like I did Actually, I think it's on my Instagram. I did a beach head without the mask. And
what's going on?
So I wanted to have beach head both masked and unmasked, so you could swap the head out. And I took a Steve Rogers head and just like, you know, I changed the haircut, kind of changed some of the features, shaved the chin down a little bit so it's not so square jawed. You know, did some alterations like that. But until I can do my own sculpting, I don't think I do anything like that. I really like recreating figures that we're not getting. Like I like a lot of obscure heroes and a lot of obscure comic books and stuff like that. Even though like some of them have come out. I'm a big fan of Grifter. I'm glad that McFarlane finally did Grifter. Yes. But it was
it could have been better. Yeah, it could have been better.
You know, so I like taking those and correcting them more than creating my own. Now I create my own teams. You know, like I do that with GI.JOE a lot.
We were going to talk about that soon after this.
Yeah, that's what and a lot of it, like I said, I like when someone asks for something specific and they're looking like, I've had a few people that are wrestlers or were wrestlers, or I've even had people that will send me pictures of their wrestler from the WWE game and be like, hey, can you make this into a figure? That I have fun doing. And I'm actually when I used to work at a club, one of the bouncers I worked with wanted a figure done of him. I charged him $200. Like he's heavily tattooed. It took a lot of work. I hand painted all the tattoos on it. He was very happy with it. So, you know, things like that are fun for me.
All right. Well, I know two things. One, yes, there is an awesome sub team that you've been doing, and we've been waiting for this one. And I thought that this was. I'm kind of shocked because when I first saw this, I started thinking, why didn't Hasbro think about this? Because actually, it's right on now. Actually, once we show these tonight, Hasbro will be making that sub team line. It will come down in the next probably couple of months or so. So you're getting the original here. But it was the Desert Squad. What led you into doing that? Because you did something with a couple of the characters. I don't know if you have them in front of you. But I was shocked at some of the characters that you put into the Desert team. What was the thought process behind that, man?
Well, it started with that Duke that I showed earlier.
Yep.
I wanted to, like, once again, so it's those desert colors. You know, I wanted him to have, and he's got a very predominant scar, which is probably hard to see because he's got a little head. I wanted, because this character looks so young when it came out, I wanted to age it up and give it, well, everything military now is browns.
Yes.
So it started off just trying to have more accurate modern day militaristic, not Vietnam era, not futuristic, because that's what Hasbro seems to be bouncing back and forth between. You're either getting a Vietnam era Recondo or somebody that looks futuristic. So I was trying to go with something more modern, and it just kind of fell into, they look like a desert team. Well, if I'm making a team, obviously you have to have a leader.
Obviously,
and
yes.
Then you want, you know, like I had to have a sniper, a heavy machine gunner. You know, I just threw Snake Eyes in there because Scarlet's part of the team. Scarlet, Duke, and Snake Eyes just seem, that throuple seems to go everywhere, you know? And then, well, Dusty, because, I mean, it's Dusty.
Yeah.
So, it just so happened that Spirit comes with a sniper rifle. And just the thoughts of Spirit as a character, it makes sense for him to be on that team. And then I needed a heavy machine gunner. And I had Roadblock already for another team that I was making. So I basically took the original Roadblock body and I took the head off of what was, I think it was the Cobra Island. So they gave him the older Roadblock. They put the do-rag on him, the sunglasses. Well, to me, that's heavy duty.
It is.
So I just put that head on the body, gave him a big machine gun, and that's heavy duty for me.
Heavy duty.
And and that's my team. Like I can actually like.
And we'll roll a couple of these up. Yeah, see, that looks exactly like heavy duty, man.
Yeah, they're like I don't understand how they thought this was Roadblock.
No. They, when I saw the Cobra Island version of Roadblock, especially with, like I said again, with the do-rag and then also with the beard, I'm like, no, that's more heavy duty. Model Misfits has got us in where it's like when the pegs are different, I use hot glue, Vaseline to create a snug fit. That's what's it, retractable?
Yeah, you can create a cap in it. You can use hot glue. Like if you put a piece of plastic or something over it, or even Vaseline, and you can create a snugger fit. I've used Teflon tape, pipe tape.
True.
You can wrap that around. I use sticky tack sometimes, the poster sticky tack.
Wow.
I tend to use that more than anything because I like to swap heads. And sticky tack, like with the hot glue, the more you take it off and it kind of grinds it down a little bit. But the hot glue pegs work. I mean, there's so many different ways to get them to stick together. It just comes down to personal choice. And there's so when I decided to do Spirit for the team, I looked up where he came from in the GI.JOE universe.
Yeah.
Wow. And I looked at the tribe.
Yep.
And I found artwork that would have represented the tribe from the area. I mean, they never specifically said what tribe he was from.
Of course, yeah.
But I found the one in the area they said he was from, and I found some paintings, and I used the war paint from the tribe. So it's, I mean, as accurate as I can make it, And then Dusty it's simple, just like Duke. It's just the repaint of the.
Yeah. Model Misfit actually said the Spirit looks great, and it did. Now, did you also do a repaint on Freedom the Eagle? Because that looks different than the one that came, or at least the one that I bought from Hasbro.
So I just put a little bit of a darker brown wash on it, hoping that it would bring out the details. But the problem is the details aren't very. Yeah, they don't stick out a lot, so it was kind of a failed attempt.
Well, it actually looks. I thought it looked more of a bald eagle compared to, because he's kind of brown when he comes out the package. I like that's a good version of Scarlet now.
Yeah.
Wow. Now you improved on that one that Hasbro kind of has typically failed on that character, even with the 3 variants that they've done. They haven't been able to pull that character off correct yet.
And that's actually the repainted version. And then I did it in the colors that I wanted. And I gave her an actual weapon and a sword. And then this is we call him a kit bash. He's a custom Snake Eyes. Because I'm not a big fan of most of the Snake Eyes that came out because they all look like ninjas.
Yeah. Now that's a little bit of version 3, right?
So this is the torso. Is the movie Snake Eyes, the one that you were able to get for like $3?
You can still get that at Ollie's. Mr. Maddox saw that today, right?
I just went today.
This cape that I gave him, this came from the movie Cable.
Okay, yeah.
And then
you saw the Marvel Legend version, right?
Right, the Marvel Legend, the movie one. And then the bandolier came from Snake Eyes, and then the bottom, so the legs came from I think it was the version 2 Snake Eyes, the one that came with Timber. The one came with the gray Timber. So so I put those legs on it, and he just looks more like, because the reason I used the movie one is because his chest and head, it looks like armor. So it doesn't look like he's just running around like a ninja. It looks like he's wearing body armor. And that's what I liked about it. Because, I mean, granted, it's fantasy, but I wanted it at least to have some kind of where it makes sense.
Sure.
So yeah, that's my desert team.
Well, like I said again, just so we do, because I know you and I've talked about one thing. Like when I was younger, I had created my own Joe character, and I sent it into Pentucket, Rhode Island, to the actual Hasbro Center, and they happened to send me some Joe flag points and like, "Hey kid, thanks for trying. Hey, you go about yourself and everything." So I have an original Joe character that I created, well, Cobra character, but that Richard we're going to do a series on, where Richard's going to create that character from scratch from my old drawing when I was probably in the 5th grade or something, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I mean,
drawing, but we're going to improve upon it.
I've kit bashed some character. I mean, Cobra. I mean, this is that's a Marvel Legend.
Yeah. The Commandos are cooler looking. Yes, model misfit. You're right, brother. Now that is a dope Cobra Commander, brother.
Yeah, that's,
and I'm looking at Chet Maddox. Chet saying like, I may have to send you the money for that now.
And the cool thing about it is, I've always pictured Cobra Commander to be small.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So Marvel Legends are made on just a little bit smaller of a scale than GI Joes. Mm-hmm. So if you look at him compared to a Joe, like he's small, like you'd see the difference in the
build structure.
He's a small, like a skinny dude.
Now is that is that a Baron Zeppo or whatever?
It is the Red Skull body.
Red Skull, got it. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I've always liked Red Skull because he looks like I don't know what the politically correct term is, but
I don't know,
we'll say World War II villain, which is what I always thought Cobra Commander should look like.
Yes. Uh-huh. And let me guess, is that in your personal collection, or is that something that's up for sale if somebody wants it or something? Because
everything's for sale
right now. All right, that's the thing. All right, well, cool things. One, if somebody needs to contact you, you've got an excellent YouTube channel. So let's go with, let's plug the YouTube channel. But also, if somebody wanted to find you, probably the best way is to do that through Instagram, right?
Correct. Yeah. Okay, Instagram is at it's KS__collectibles.
Okay.
On Instagram.
So they can send you a direct message and be like, hey, man, I've got an idea for this figure. So you guys can work the details out. But also too, you've been running tutorials on your YouTube channel, and I've been seeing those. But not only will get that information out, but you also teach classes as well. So if we're in Southern California, you can probably attend an actual customization class, right?
Yeah, we're currently. I think we actually found a venue that's kind of. I believe it's near where Joel lives. Joel hosts them with me. I think we found a venue. Actually, the arcade. There's an arcade out.
Okay. Yeah, he was telling me I was supposed to go out there Saturday night with him. Mm-hmm.
So I was too, but I think my buddy talked to the owner, and he said he'd be down to host the classes. So I think we'll be able to start having those out there, and be able to start doing the classes all over again. And the crazy thing is, the first when I showed you the Warhammer figures, that's one of the things that I taught in the class. That's one of the figures that was done.
And Mr. Model Misfit actually says, they were upon some figures were. Yeah, they were, brother. They were.
I do have a one last question.
Go ahead.
If your figure becomes really loose just from like time, what's the best way to like tighten up the joints again?
So a lot of people use floor wax.
Mm-hmm.
You put a little floor wax in there. Some people use super glue. You got to put it in there and work it.
Mm-hmm.
Those all work, but there's actually something you can get on Amazon. It comes in a little like a droplet bottle like this with the needle. It's called Fix It, and it's specifically designed for you to put into the joints of action figures, and it tightens them up. I've used them on 3 3/4 figures. I've used them on 6/6 figures. I've used it on Hot Toys. And it's like $12 for a bottle, and you don't use that much. I tell people all the time, it's a good investment. It's worth it, because when you use the floor wax, or you're using even other things that people use, crazy glue, something like, you're risking not working it right and gluing your
damaging your figure. Mm-hmm.
or spilling it somewhere and having to take it off, and it's a pain.
Yeah.
So I believe it's called Fix It. You can get it on Amazon. It's like $12 for the bottle. It's great stuff. And I've never had a problem with it.
Now, when they come to your class, you supply the figures? What do they need to actually go learn? So, and is it like a one-day class, or is it a couple of days classes? Give us a breakdown.
It's usually when I ran it in the store, it was a 2-hour class.
Okay.
Now the class usually ended up being about 3.5 hours. I pretty much ran it until people left. You know how Joel is.
I do know how Joel is. Yes.
But as long as people are willing to go, I'm willing to sit there and give them advice the whole time. So typically, what it is you'd get it. Like I would say, okay, today we're doing like we did this action figure. So they got this figure brand new in the box, like literally they opened it up, and we supplied the paint, the paintbrushes, everything, and you know, and the instruction, and went like I said, 2.5, 3 hours, and walked them through everything from the basics. So and we teach it in sections sometimes. Like we'll do, okay, today we're gonna do washes and what's called it, like washes and different types of dry brushing techniques like that. Sometimes we'll do like just the basics. We're gonna go over just the basics. Or today we're gonna do flesh tone, because flesh tone is a very hard thing to do. It's very hard to. Some people don't mind just the flesh tone, like normal paint that you can find. I am not a fan of it because there's no depth to it. You know, most of mine, if you, there's actually videos on there where I teach how I do flesh tone. Usually my heads start off red. Okay. So because there's capillaries, there's blood underneath that. So, but there's I mean, there's different ways to do different things. And I tell people all the time, you know, look up other creators, look up other YouTube guys, look up, because you got to go with what's right for you. Exactly. I don't think I know everything. I don't think I'm the greatest. I know there's a lot of way better, but I know the basics. Yeah. You know, I can teach you the basics and what works for me. Just because it works for me doesn't mean it works for everybody. But I've never had a complaint. I mean, this is probably one of my most popular figures.
Yeah, I remember the fridge. Yeah, and then I got to talk to you about that after we get offline. I got to definitely talk to you about the fridge, brother.
Actually, you were there when I bought that whole thing together.
I know, and that's why I was like, hey, that's again, it's like, you know, the classifieds getting all my cash, and then Joel and Richard will be getting it soon too. The Globulus, before they actually released that character, you know, at the San Diego Comic-Con this weekend. So we're actually going to see a little bit more of that character.
And I used the wrestling figure body for this because WWE figures are on a 7-inch scale.
Yeah.
As opposed to like there's a huge difference in.
Meeks appreciate
because I wanted it to be huge.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So also the classes, they can go to your Instagram, put up information, also talk to you as well. I'm sure from time to time on your YouTube channel or on Instagram, you'll be putting up when you're getting ready to do some new classes and everything, since you spotted down the venue.
People can get a hold of me through Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, pretty much any social media.
Okay.
X, I'm not real active on X. I just, you know, Instagram posts on X. You know. I don't really do that, but Instagram is the one that I'm on. I tend to be on the most. You know.
All right, brother. Well, like I said, this is probably a little bit of we wanted to get the beginner's guide. You know, again, you know, Richard's always on with us, so we definitely want to bring him back at some maybe some intermediate stuff, and more and more seeing the new line and everything. We'll get some other stuff, but love the work that you're doing, brother. I saw the Tupac one. I had to bring the Tupac in there.
So good.
I think Tupac would be in Joe, so I gotta think though. he would be in the Joe team, so somehow he might make his way to display.
I've actually made I took a Mr. T head and I used instead, because Big Boa and hadn't come out yet. Yeah. So I made my version of Clubber Lang for the Cobra team. Okay. And I also, if you remember back in the day when Roddy Piper was part of the Joe team.
I do remember that. Yep.
He was the hand-to-hand instructor. Well, since he was gone, in my story, Destro ended up hiring a new professional wrestler to become his hand-to-hand combat. So I made a CM Punk.
Oh, okay.
As a Cobra member.
The lore is strong, brother. The lore is strong. Well, like I said, Richard, always a pleasure having you on, brother. All the knowledge that you give. I tell people again, it's although he doesn't actually sing his praises, one of the best customizers out there. Extremely lucky to have him around, and also Joe, who's love the guy and everything else. That he's also does great work. He's doing, I think, some form of a chrome bat for me or something else that he's working on too. So
yeah,
we got some stuff coming up, brother.
Joel does some very out there, like he's got some different ideas. He's the one that's more into to creating his own look and style.
Yeah.
Whereas I just want to make things that should exist or make them at least correct. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely. I will be hitting you up for a Norn Rad though. I do want that because
I'll figure it out. I'll start looking into it.
Yeah, just look up the old Silver Surfer cartoon, the like amazing one that was on Fox.
Yeah,
and that's the Norn Rad that I want. So I'm serious about that one because I've been looking at it. I was like, I mean, I could do it, but I really want one of yours.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have a KS Collectibles original. So Richard, again, thank you for your time, brother.
Sure.
Again, we will have you back because we always have back. If you haven't followed him on his YouTube channel, go over there and follow him on his YouTube channel because he's doing some amazing tutorials. The kind of stuff that you can't get here on the Shadow News Network, you can only get over on KS Collectibles. So hey, brother, always pleasure having you on, man. Thank you again, man.
All right, guys, have a good one.
All right, brother.
Take care.
All right. So like I said again, man, it's one of those aspects where, my man does great work. We always like to, bring in people that does great work. Got a couple of key things that we're going before we take off tonight. One is, oh yeah, there goes Meeks again. Meek sings praises. You gotta love Meek, man. We're going to talk just quickly about the little, because we were watching Geek Dad Life, because yes, we watch other tubers. We're not the kind of guys that just only watch our own stuff and we hate on everyone else. We love everyone else's stuff. We were watching Geek Dad Life tonight. He was walking around the preview because San Diego Comic-Con starts tonight. You can go to a preview tonight that's on for people later in the evening. And then the first full day starts tomorrow at Thursday. And there are a bunch of announcements coming Thursday. But what do you think from just the floor and everything? It's Chet, was the design similar to the same, or what was it up, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't say that I am a fanatic for Comic-Con, and it's mostly because I'm one of the few. I mean, I guess there's a lot of people that enjoy it, but I'm one of the few that thoroughly enjoy walking the show floor.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to stay on the outside where all the comics are, all of the where all of the like more retro like vintage toys exist. So I yeah, man, I like what I saw. I mean, I'm jealous. I really want to be there. There's some stuff I'm trying to get a hold of to see if I can find anyone that's gonna be there, but he did a part where he was at the Mondo booth, and I was like, man,
I saw that.
That's just all my money going away.
Well, and like I said, again, we normally make the trek down and everything. This was one of the few years because, again, we had started the channel last year and its first year anniversary. I will tell you this, do not count out 2025 because we are already making our preparations and plans. We didn't want to rush something this year, get down there and just give our viewers something that we thought was not going to be indicative of what we do on this channel. But we are making plans for 2025. It's going to be looking really cool. Some of the announcements that's popping up. First of all, again, since we do love our tubers, Thursday, Flipboard panel at 7 p.m. You can go to the comiccon.org and check down for Pacific times. I think it's room 4. Don't quote me on that, but he's definitely doing that. On Saturday, a big panel that's was started last year that's going to be continuing this year from Geek Dad Life. It's called the Toy Tubers Unite. It'll have Pixel Dan. It'll have the people from the Yes Have Some channel, which is they do Toy Anxiety. And then, of course, Hatter will be on that as well. We're looking at Thursday. There is a Hasbro fan stream that's popping up. And, we're talking about that. We're going to maybe do some reactionary kind of things. We're thinking about that right now. But there's going to be some of the G.I. Joe breakdowns. I'm sure they're going to have a little bit of Transformers and some other news. But later that day at 4 p.m., they are going to be releasing the G.I. Joe HasLab reveal. And we all know what it is. You've seen the photos, you've seen all the leaks, you've seen the new Destro.
If you don't think that's what it is, then you're just you're in denial.
You have not been paying attention. You have not been paying attention. But also, hey, they're going to have Bill Murray from Fresh Monkey Studios. It's going to be down there. He's got some amazing work. So when you're down there, check him out. There's a lot of great artists that's there. It's not always about the toys, and of course the biggest spectacle that's going to be on the face of the planet this year, Deadpool Wolverine, because Marvel is returning to Hall H. And if you haven't started sleeping out by Hall H now, you don't actually have your sleeping bag and your tent set up for the intense day, you're not getting in. So if you're driving down there Friday, you're like, I'm going to Hall, you're not getting in there for the Marvel panel. You should have started lining up Tuesday, not Wednesday, not today. Tuesday, no, Monday, Tuesday, camping out.
Yeah, like a little known fact about that. One year I wanted to get into Hall H.
Yeah.
And we did camp out for like a day and a half, and we got to the very front of the line.
Yeah.
And then they cut it off.
Oh, you got to
like we were like at the orange. It was so bad that we were like, "Can you just take our picture, please?" And they took a picture of us. We were at the front of the line. It sucked.
Meeks, we are 20. We've already started doing the plan. No, we haven't had you into the meetings yet, but we will. Next year, 2025, SKN Shadow News Network is going to do some big stuff, or possibly, even talk about having our own booth there. So there's
who knows? It might even be something like SKN TV. We have no idea.
Hey, we got nothing but time and other people's money to blow.
Yeah, we got time. Yeah, so I think like I don't know, is there anything that you saw? I mean, we're gonna obviously go over a little bit tonight. Which
but that's we knew, because we definitely wanted to get a customization. We're gonna go over our boys from the Sarlacc Digest podcast. Don't worry, by the time you tune it in, they'll just be running their own stuff and getting into the good part of it. So I thought that they had some of the stuff that I think McFarlane had, like a private party or something that they were showing earlier tonight off the floor. And I saw some of I guess he had some teasable figures that were out. They looked a lot better than his exclusives, because you and I have given him flack about his San Diego Comic-Con exclusives just looked like very lack on originality this year.
Yeah.
So it's like he didn't put that much in effort. But some of the stuff that he's got coming out later in the year looked really good. Playmates is, I don't know how they keep doing this. Look, they've got the best prices of most action figures on the face of the planet. And they just have a style that no matter what they do, constantly keeps coming up. I've heard that Scratch and the other character you were telling me about, I've seen like they may have teasers or something, Hotspot. Teases little characters from the Playmate line, like the Super 7 line, the Playmate line.
Dude,
so they're going to talk about a reissue of those.
I'm excited about that. So if you don't know, Scratch, good luck getting them under $1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
And Hotspot, your average price is $480.
So it's not bad for a Hotspot.
No, yeah, I mean, but he's one of the few, right? And then Mountie Moose is another one of those ones where
I've seen Mountie Moose.
Yeah, and then you have the giraffe that is basketball. I forget what.
Oh,
I don't have him. The only one that I really wanted and I have is Scratch. But I'm excited if that's a real thing. Like I'm stoked. I think the only thing bad that Playmates has done recently is they did another 4-pack Ninja Turtles, but the skin on the turtles is like, people call it like orange peel skin. It's like you see that?
I do remember that. I also remember that Hatter got
that just
off that video.
So that just came out. You can buy those on Walmart, but they're not. I wouldn't. Hold off.
Yeah, well, and that's a rarity for the stuff that they do, man. That's not a Playmate kind of thing. So I don't know if it's a rush job or something, but that's not indicative of the stuff that Playmates really does. They really do really good figures at a reasonable price. So.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think is funny about Comic-Con is that Funko is still doing their menu of what you can buy, and it's like, dude, you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like they have their previews list, and it's like you can get all these at Funko.com. Then they show you the GameStop one, the Hot Topic, the box lunch. Barnes and Noble, Target has 4 of them. It's a Papa Smurf, Spider-Man, something else. I can't really say Papa Smurf without singing that song in my head, which I'm not going to sing on this podcast.
Well, here's the thing. Even with Funko, though, they're spending big money because they normally have a huge footprint.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're doing that because every Funko Pop I have seen in any direct store anywhere in Southern California has been going for dirt cheap now. So
Yeah.
I don't know how they're wheeling and dealing when I've seen some Funkos go as low as whatnot. We've seen them go for $1 and $2 all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, even the ones you have that you thought were worth money are like $1 or $2.
So that's one of the major surprise thing too. And the same thing with Super 7. Super 7's got a huge presence there, and there's not a lot of excitement. They did have I guess a brand new version of Lion-O and Munra that light up. But then I heard something like the prices were over like 80 or something bucks, and I was like, oh, they're
not gonna sell.
Like, come on.
The other thing that I want to point out too is Saturday, if you are going to Comic-Con, and I wish that these were live streamed still. I don't think they are. But the Toys That Made Us has a panel on Saturday at 11:15 a.m. in room 6A.
And that's going to be a damn good panel because that's probably one of the better toy shows on Netflix.
It'll be the most, in my opinion, it's going to be, and I wish I was there because this is a panel that I freaking really wanted to go to. But I guarantee you this is an underrated panel, and whoever goes is going to be excited about what they see in there because Nacelle's they've working on different getting IPs to make toys. Like people don't understand this. Like, and they made like
Mars and
the Toys That Made Us is one of the best documentaries of any kind.
It is
of any kind, really, on Netflix. So
if you've got like a weekend just to sit around and chill, and you're really big into the things that we're big into, which is toys, they have a now they've got the Toys That Made America that was on the History Channel, and that's not as entertaining. It's not bad, but the Toys That Made Us is entertaining. They've got creative backgrounds. They've got all the little nuances, and I think one of the better ones, of course, I love Joe, but it was the Lego one that was the most informative because there is a lot of thought and preparation and timing put into that whole little world that works, and it's explained better than I've ever seen it explained.
And also, I'd like to point out that if you are enjoying The Last Ronin or the resurgence of Ninja Turtles, you have to thank the Toys That Made Us because they're the ones that got Eastman and Laird back together to even do The Last Ronin. So there's a lot of like history in there, man, and I think it's good. I wish I could see the panel, but I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it live. So.
Well, hopefully, maybe they'll tape it and put. I know a lot of these panels now they're sending guys down to film it and they're putting it up on their YouTube channels. I would not be surprised if it actually popped up somewhere. I think it's extremely smart. Look, the thing about Nacelle is they weren't industry professionals in the toy worlds. So they can do things unconventional. And I think that the reason why that they have so much excitement and buzz is that they're not going to do things that are the same as everyone else. So that's what the industry needs. You need fresh thinking. Like that's why we love Ace over at Ramen Toys. There's just fresh thinking that's coming out. You need people that doesn't always have the same corporate thoughts of what toys were for 20 and 30 years to come in and shake things up. So I'm looking forward to that. Of course, obviously, the bigger panels that we're always waiting for. We know there's going to be some other major announcements that's going to come through. And that leads us to on Friday. Friday, we got a big show we're going to do. It's the first time ever dual cast that we're doing from the Shadow Nose Network and the Sorlac Digest podcast, our podcast brothers on the other channel. We're going to do a 2-hour show. It's starting on Friday, this Friday the 26th at 6 p.m. Pacific, which is 9 p.m. Eastern time. And you'll see all the guys from Pixel Plast Inc., myself, Chet. You're going to see Dr. Brentley. You're going to see Rad. We're going to be over on their channel for the first hour. And then Dark Moocher, Scott Solo, and possibly a couple others. They're still working on their lineup. Will be popping over at 7 p.m. Over on the Shadow Nose Network on Pixel Plastic and Ink. You will have their faces on. One, I will say this, and very rarely do I do this. Dr. Brentley has been working his behind off on a documentary. It's a 10-minute documentary on the history of Comic-Con. And I felt so compelled because I know he's been breaking tooth and nail for the last several weeks putting this together. So when you first pop on at 7 p.m., we won't be on because we've already done an hour. The first 10 minutes will be devoted to this documentary. So it's going to be a little something extra because, we like doing high production here. And then we're going to run after that, an hour after that. So it's basically, you're looking at 2 hours, 10 minutes-ish, somewhere. And if we got a topic that really goes, we might be there. So it's going to be a heck of a Friday night event. We're going to do more dual casts with them coming up. We've got some things planned that, hey, these guys, again, they're on after us. And one of the things that we did come up with, and this one of those aspects, is that if you don't know what to do on Wednesdays and Fridays, well, we came up with a little something for you. So let's run this for everyone out there. There you go. So if you're sitting around and saying, well, what do I do on Wednesday nights? I don't know what to do with my time. Got 3 great shows to watch Wednesday night. What do you do on Friday nights? You got 1 great show to watch on Friday nights. And this week you've got 2 great shows. So we're giving you a little extra. We're giving you an extra hour. So, other than that, the one last thing, Mr. Maddox, who's our sponsor and what do they do so well for us?
Yeah, our sponsor is Old Spice. They keep your armpits smelling nice. So don't forget your Old Spice. That's not our sponsor, but they could be if you're listening.
We need them though.
You guys could be, keep us smelling nice. Your Old Spice. Our sponsors are brought to you by subscribing because it's free, clicking the notification bell, telling all your friends you found the best place on the planet in YouTube, which is us, obviously. But because you like to buy toys or you dabble in toys, you could dabble. It's fine. Just dabble your little hearts out over at Entertainment Earth. And at Entertainment Earth, we have a link that's typically in the description. You can go there. But we have the absolute best code for Entertainment Earth. Anything over $75 or $79 or whatever it is, thing 75, right?
79.
Anything over $79, you get free shipping, plus you're getting 10% off. So you might as well just spend $100 and get no shipping charge, and then also get 10% off. And the key to that is that it's only for in-stock items. So don't try to pre-order because it doesn't work. And then if you try to pre-order and you come back here and you tell us, hey, I tried to pre-order and it didn't work, I'll be like, you're stupid. Listen to the rest of the damn podcast and you'll understand how the promo code works. But if you don't know, now you do know. And Shadow
knows.
already knows. So until next time, you lovely, sexy group of people, and I'm talking about Storm and myself here. Don't get excited, okay? Don't get excited. But we're really excited because we had one last thing we want